All right, the recording has started. Um, I'm so glad that you actually joined this call today, just for the questionnaire. Um, I'm so actually happy that you actually accepted on doing this interview. Um,
Well, I'm happy to I'm happy to be here.
Congratulations on your 1.6 million downloads after the first rival of in Yandere Simulator. I actually do have to ask. I have seen a lot of stands trying to copy your game right down to the exact characters from the original game. What makes you unique than the other games that are on like uh, Google Play or even iOS devices?
Well, Yandere Simulator is the first one. I suppose that's one thing that makes it a bit unique. All of I noticed that a lot of other people have tried to make clones of Yandere Simulator, but these clones are usually very simple and bare bones. There's often not a story or any sort of progression from a beginning to middle to end. It's kind of just a sandbox to goof around in. Perhaps that's how these developers perceived Yandere Simulator, and that's what they thought the appeal of the game was. They look at YouTubers play it, and they think, oh, it's just a game where you're in a school environment, and you're an anime girl, and you go around and goof around and do weird things. And so then they make a quick clone of that, and then they put it on the App Store, hoping to make some money. But that's not really what Yandere Simulator is. It's a whole lot more than that. These other developers have managed to copy the superficial, surface level aspects of Yandere Simulator, but they usually don't go very much deeper than that.
Gotcha. And I know there was some like altercations. I wouldn't say altercations. I would say more of a confrontation with the creator of Love Letter, another Yandere Simulator stand that was going to be released to the public, but it was interruptedly shut down due to unknown reasons. What if you don't mind me asking, what makes it what makes it more better? What makes your game better than Love Letter back then?
I think the real question would be why on earth would anyone actually perceive Love Letter as being a better game? Because what the developer did was he used third party tools to extract Yandere Simulator's assets from the game. Then he opened up a Unity project and he dropped Yandere Simulator's assets into Unity. And he made a very simple, bare bones environment that kind of resembled a school. And then he did the bare minimum amount of effort to make a schoolgirl character model walk around. And from the trailer, you could see there was like a killing animation and the ability to drag ragdolls, but that's really something you can do in just an afternoon with a small degree of knowledge of Unity. So he really didn't create anything impressive or meaningful, and he wasn't really making a project that in any way had anything that Yandere Simulator doesn't have. But it became popular and trendy to say, oh, look, this new game is coming up that's going to surpass Yandere Simulator. Because that makes for good drama. That's a nice, um, it creates a nice spectacle for people to enjoy watching unfold. So there really was nothing about the game that exceeded what could be done in one afternoon with Unity, but people just really enjoy a spicy narrative, enjoy a scandalous accusation. They enjoy drama. So this kind of weird story popped up that Love Letter is this game that's coming up and it's going to surpass Yandere Sim, but it really doesn't make any sense to conclude that. It was just using assets stolen from Yandere Simulator. There was nothing that made that game special. And you said it stopped development for unknown reasons, but that's really not the case. It's pretty well known why it stopped. It was revealed that the developer of that game was sending pictures of his genitals to minors. And after the internet caught wind of that, they swiftly canceled him. He lost all support, and all of the people who were working with him stopped working with him due to like what they called a terrible work environment. So it's no surprise that you know just a
Okay.
project that pops into existence with, just because the developer thinks he can one up another developer isn't necessarily going to be run by competent people.
Gotcha.
And yeah,
Yeah,
that
I
that
was
project. Hmm.
sorry to interrupt. As in my point of view, when I actually saw the tweet, because I was following him at the time, um, that's I didn't even know any of what was going on behind the curtains. So you bringing this up when he was sending explicit pictures to minors, that was just an eye opener for me. So thanks for bringing that up because I actually did not know at that time.
Hmm.
So, as a game developer, I understand there are some minor and major setbacks, and I speak for every single game developer as of me myself, Dan Salvato, Treyarch, Activision, etc. What would be your what was your minor or major setback?
Hmm. Well, there have been a whole lot of factors throughout Yandere Simulator's development that have been either long-term or short-term setbacks. Uh, One thing that does need to be considered is the fact that I'm a first-time game developer, and this is the first video game I'm ever making. And when you start making video games for the first time, you should really start with something simple. But I started deck that's very complex. Yandere Simulator is a very deep, complicated game with dozens of intertwining features that all affect one another. And being a newbie to game development and then launching headfirst into a very complex game will definitely slow down that game's development. Another factor is that I am juggling both game development and the operation of a YouTube channel at the same time. And when you try to make steady progress on a game, but also try to regularly upload videos to a YouTube channel, that will definitely slow you down. After several years straight of working on the game, I did I did get pretty burned out. There were for like the first couple of years of the game's development, first 2 or 3 years, I was working like 15 hours a day on the game and not taking time off on weekends. And that's pretty much a recipe for getting severely burned out on the project and then losing your productivity. When you're working for that many hours, you think, oh, I'm being super productive, but you're actually burning yourself out and guaranteeing you'll be less productive. And
Oh
then,
yeah, I totally agree with you with that.
mm-hmm.
Because
And
me making Doki Doki Literature Club mods, because I started my first mod, which was Doki Doki Literature Club My Turn. Um, it was kind of a challenge for me as well. So it's only for a matter of time. And this new one that I'm making, a sequel, I've kind of went through some struggles and me trying to work at it at the same time. It like I totally understand. You get burned out easily, so I understand where you're coming from.
yeah,
What was your most challenging issues of making Yandere Simulator? Characters, voice acting.
um, well, there have been issues both inside of game development and then outside of the game as well. The issue in game within the game's development, just within the game engine, that makes it most difficult to make the game. I suppose sometimes there's a lack of the assets I need. Like if I want to put in some sort of mini game where the player is having a physical struggle with another student, I'll need animations for like a fight taking place. And I can't put that feature in the game unless I have the fight animations. So my progress will be kind of halted until I get the assets I need from someone who has generously volunteered to help me. And until that time, I just have to work on some other aspect of the game, which is always kind of a frustrating experience when you can't work on the thing you want to work on.
Gotcha. I got you on that. How do you I from your perspective, how do you actually stay up with the latest game and software trends? In other words, how do you better your game when you got the new and old stealth games? Alien Isolation, Hitman 2 and 3, Tom Clancy Splinter Cell, Blacklist, and Assassin's Creed.
Well, Yandere Simulator is. I know that in the very beginning, when I started developing it, I I was just planning to make a Hitman clone, just a straight up copy of Hitman, but you're an anime girl. And over the years, I have drifted away from that. I have many times called Yandere Simulator a stealth game, but perhaps it's no longer really accurate to say that. I've sometimes called it a social stealth game because you're doing bad things in public and you're trying to keep your reputation up while you're doing that. So it's not necessarily the same type of stealth as Splinter Cell or Metal Gear Solid or Assassin's Creed, where you're sneaking around in the shadows. It's more like you're doing bad things out in the open, and you just have to keep your reputation up while you do it. It really doesn't. It really doesn't seem like a game where I need to go play another stealth game to figure out what to add to Yandere Sim. Yandere Sim is kind of its own thing. But in terms of staying up to date with gaming news and the latest gaming trends, I do make time every day to play video games because, it's just I'm a huge video game enthusiast. I'll never be able to just completely stop playing them. So I always make time to play games, new games and old games. And I also talk about games with my friends and watch YouTube videos about the latest things going on in gaming. So I guess I'm always staying on top of the latest gaming trends.
Well, that's good. That's a good answer to answer that question with. We're at that part of the segment where we talk about the stuff that's the things that got removed and will get removed from Yandere Simulator. Um, if you're down with that.
Oh, sure, what's up?
There's like a bunch of things that came across my Twitter about the whole Yandere Simulator stuff that's gotten removed or is getting removed. There's some stuff I actually do want to know more about. I know. So your first videos was called the original Yandere Simulator prototype, where you see the old where you see the old that you could kick other students, but it got removed. Can you give me a reason why it did get removed?
I suppose I do remember exactly the video you're talking about. Um, right after I decided, right after I pitched the idea for Yandere Simulator, and people said this is a cool idea, somebody should make it, I went to the Unity Asset Store and I began looking for models and animations that could be used for a Yandere game. And I found a character model of a 3D anime girl who has a bunch of animations like throwing and kicking. And I thought, hey, I want to just toss this into a Unity project, and I want to see really quickly, can I just make a short, simple game prototype where you can like go up to a character, grab them, and kick them and stuff, just to test out, do I really have the assets necessary to make this game become real? So I
Mm-hmm.
really quickly just whipped together a prototype where you could grab and throw a student and kick her while she's on the ground. And that wasn't necessarily because that was my vision for the final game. I just wanted to see, can I get this working? Can I have a vision in my head and then make that vision become real? And if I make a video of it, how many people will care? And so I put it together for that reason. But, going up to a girl that Senpai is talking to and then just tossing her to the ground and kicking her in the head repeatedly isn't really a part of the game's gameplay. So that was really just for a demonstration video that wasn't really intended to be in the final game.
Okay. How about uh, Infochan's old story? The old story of Infochan was that she helped Yandere Chan because she could write about it in the school newspaper. That meant sales could go up. So Infochan wanted the monies, but we now know her as a girl that would help Yandere Chan if she gets panty shots and that she gets something bad happen to the rivals or Osana. So what happened to the old story?
Um, when I made the first few videos, let's see here. Early in the game's development, I created these cutscenes to kind of give the premise of the story before the gameplay begins. And a lot of people said they didn't like that story. They thought it was bad. And I agreed with them about all the reasons why they said it was bad. They mainly said like they wanted the main character, Yandere-chan, to feel like she's the one in control of her actions. They didn't want to feel like there was another character, Info-chan, being the puppet master and controlling the main character. And I thought, that's a good point. The main character should feel like a Yandere girl because she's a Yandere girl, not because she's being influenced by this other girl from a newspaper club. So I decided to completely scrap that story and just make Yandere-chan the master of her own destiny and have Info-chan be a optional supporting character.
Okay. And the last thing I want to talk about is the Info-chan as the final rival. It was originally planned that the final rival would be Info-chan. Yandere-chan will have to fight Info-chan to death over her beloved senpai, but that idea got scrapped. Care to tell
Yeah,
it?
that concept was considered way too predictable. Like everyone could just predict, oh yeah, that's exactly how the story is going to end. Oh yeah, of course it'll end that way. Oh, how predictable. Of course that's going to be the plot twist. And I guess it is kind of the plot twist that would spring to mind first. Like if you were trying to guess what the game's ending would be, that's the first thing that would pop into mind. And so I decided, no, the game's, ending plot twists and final boss should be much more interesting and creative than, the first thing that might pop to someone's mind. So I decided to just completely scrap that idea altogether and go with a completely different plan for the end of the game.
Okay. And one more question before we end with the interview on a high note. Um, could you give us like a little spoiler or like any plot twist that we might see in the near future?
Future, a lot of new content is being added to the game, including a lot of new characters. And some of these characters are people who have been teased or referenced in the past but never had a physical presence in the game. And I think that a lot of people are going to be very excited when they learn who these new characters are going to be.
Awesome. Well, that's all the questions I have. I truly thank you for your time today, and I'll be looking forward to the final cut for the Yandere Simulator, and I'll definitely give you a huge shout out to my man YandereDev for coming out today.
It was a fun interview to participate in. Thank you very much.